Ano, Cheeki, Breeki, в дамке! This is a good one, sucker. Ooh! Stalker 2, after 15 years, it finally actually came out. I've been a Stalker fan since 2015-2016, and these games have always encapsulated me, right? This one is no different. Stalker is set in a modern time, exclusion zone in Chernobyl, in a society that has been rebuilt in these new harsh conditions that they have to live in. Let me take this off. In this review, I'll be going over certain categories and then give it my final ranking. And no, don't worry, there's no major spoilers that I'm going to talk about. So, now we are all set. Let's get into it, comrade. Давай!
Кинути скільки ще до нової гвинтівки не вистачає.
Чудная ночь. We start off as Spliffy Skiffy, or Skiff. His home has been a bit wrecked, and he noticed a little blue glowing orb thing that's definitely not radioactive and could give you a lot of illnesses. He sends himself on this little venture to the Zone, this lovely place home to Gopniks, Spider Gopniks, Chihuahua, deranged Gopniks, military Gopniks. What do you get the gist? This blue orb is an artifact, which is a special item of the Zone, birthed. You get some help from some doctor dude to travel through the Zone. He has a big scanner. You put it down, you do some things for him, you scan the thing. It does nothing. You do it 3 times. It's not the most interesting start, but you know what? Whatever. Then you get attacked by these dudes. You'll know who later in the game. Who come and politely ask for the scanner and artifact from Skiff, and ask him to politely give it to them. And Skiff obliges like a standing citizen. And all in all, Skiff's basic motive, and he wants to find out who the smelly Gopniks who took this stuff off him were. Simple, right? Yeah. I mean, Stalker games haven't ever really been mostly about the story. It's mostly been about the world and immerses you. And they never really focused on the excellence of storytelling via an actual plot, rather than just the beautiful immersive world that they throw you into. So on paper, the story's quite basic and simple, and in all fairness, more than halfway through the game I stopped following the story and I stopped caring, which is probably not a good sign, but I feel like the story just overstayed its welcome a bit and I just stopped caring. I stopped giving a fuck. The story's not my cup of tea, but hey, better than nothing. I've seen worse stories. You do have some choices in the story that you can pick from. You know, do I side with this guy or do I side with that guy? But in all honesty, most of the time, it doesn't really change anything at all. So it ends up being a bit useless sometimes. But, it's there, I guess. However, there are a lot of story locations that the game brings you through, like the island, where they have this cool, like, monolith dynamic with the Stalker. You know, they're all, like, Stalker! They're very unwelcome there, all that lovely stuff. But about the story, it's but you know what really impacts me? The world. Stalker's always had masterful immersion, right? Making the player feel a part of this world is what they do best. Really Gopnik, the drab melancholic atmosphere sets the mood where you actually become a severely depressed, alcohol-withdrawn Gopnik. Drinking with all your comrades. From big details to small details. Everything was created with a sole purpose to put you into this world. There's loads of places to venture, and by venture I mean walk 1,500 miles to your next location and deal with all the shit that you have to come across. It's realistic, but each location and environment feels encapsulating. Like I'm a man, Stalker in this world, man. I am losing my mind. You know, the bases feel bustling and alive. Bustling. I better go. The overlands are empty, vast and sparse. The swamps are, well, the fucking swamps. Delete them from the game and it will become a 10 out of 10. And yes, you do walk a lot of walking. You're placed into this character and you're a Stalker traversing this zone. You've got to travel around. You can pay for a guide to fast travel, but there's like 6 of them in the entire map. Despite that, however, despite how immersive it feels and realistic it is and how much I like exploring the game, sometimes, mostly when I got to the latter half of the game, I dreaded seeing that 1.5 km distance marker to my next objective. When all I want to do is get to the next mission and I've just got to slog my way there. I'm like, why am I even walking here? At least there was some exploration, right? You'd come across side quests. The first time I came across on a mission, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. I really like the fact that no matter who your enemy was, as soon as that mission alarm went off, everyone stops fighting and we just all run together. Everyone's panicking. It feels real, which is, again, Stalker moments. All these different locations all have different feels and personalities. All that tells stories within their own details, you know, such as people's teeth being incredibly yellow because they're living off vodka, bread, and kielbasa. The game is also quite long, depending on how you play the game. This world is crafted to immerse you. You got all these mysteries that you have to discover because you're locked into this world. I'm not going to talk about why Stalker does this so well, because I've already made a video about the first few games, and if you want to know more in-depth detail about why and how it immerses you, watch that video. You got all these anomalies which have changed a bit. They're a bit more grounded. All these creepy looking mutants. And speaking about mutants, the game can surprisingly get a bit spooky at times, which I found was a pleasant surprise. Stalker 1 had some moments, right, where it'd be a bit creepy, but most of the time it's just dark, grabby, Krabby Patty crabs. You know, dirty, dank atmosphere. But Stalker 2 likes to have some sections which are a bit spooky. I appreciate it. I remember a section where I was walking in a hallway after I got teleported or something, and then I had like snorks fucking crawling towards me. That creeped me out, and then I got teleported again. Fucking this thing appeared. This absolute incestuous meatball just appeared and just fucking crumbed on me. Pretty solid immersive stuff, right? Despite the story not being very good, the game has a heart and a soul, a big fat personality. I feel like it's a true passion project, and you can really feel it. You can just tell that when they were making this world, they wanted you to feel like you were a part of it. Next! First things first, obviously this game is absolutely breathtaking. Absolutely stunning. Absolutely cheeky breaky make me squatty watty in my shmisky white glad. Basically, it's pretty good, and it works very well. However, I'm playing on the Xbox Series S, X, one of them, the one that looks like a refrigerator cube, and I was playing on performance mode. However, I'd still come across very frequent frame drops, very consistently. Sometimes I'll be at 60 FPS, sometimes it would dip to 40, sometimes it would go to like 30, and I cried because I'm ungrateful bitch. And there was a lot of textures that just didn't load in sometimes. I have to mention it. Personally, I don't care that much unless it's game breaking. There was a few tiny little graphical bugs I came across, you know, the guy levitating, some guy's legs tripping out, some things flying across the screen. Nothing that bothers me personally, but yes, it does have some bugs. I'd like to make an objection. They aren't bugs, they're anomalies, okay? They're not bugs, they're anomalies. Depending on what you're playing on, the game can get very dark at sometimes. If you want to change that, the game is set on Rec 709, which is where my nerdy little university film graduate brain comes in. Rec 709 is the image that films like to use to make it look more cinematic, making contrast and shadows even darker and sharper. And basically, that makes the game very dark because they want to be extremely cinematic, but sometimes it's too much. So thankfully you can change it in settings. sRGB, just change it to that if you can't see. A few little mishaps and bugs, but you know what, nothing that really tainted my opinion or experience playing the game. Combat! Moving from Shadow of Chernobyl to Heart of Chernobyl, the jump from gameplay from the first game to the second game, which isn't the second game, it's the fourth game, I was like, wow, this gunplay is actually very good. I like it a lot, but I've heard, a little birdie's told me, some people don't like the gameplay or the combat that much. They think it's too clunky and heavy. Counterpoint, I like how the combat is very slow, rugged, heavy. Aiming's very like you're actually pulling something up. I like the fact that they do that because it makes you feel like you are actually pulling out a gun, right? Your weapon's got weight to it, I like it, and you can peek and stuff, but it all moves as if you're like a GoPro stuck to someone. Some people maybe just expect the game to be Call of Duty Black Ops 6. It's not. It's very grounded, you know, heavy, and just very lofty in general. But think about it. You're some dude, right? You're not exactly like Superman. You are some stalker, who means you're a fucking loser, carrying 50 kg on your back, like 16 guns. But I feel like it helps it feel real. Enemies are very strong. Again, they are absolutely menaces in this game. Personally, I think this game, human-wise, I think it's harder. You know, Shadow of Chernobyl, when you get to Pripyat, that can get a bit challenging. Player Sky was, there was a lot going on, and Call of Pripyat I found quite easy. Stalker 2, I would put it at the top. I found it quite hard, right, when I was getting adjusted to it. Human-wise, it got easier. The mutants in this game, when you get to a certain point, right, I had good guns, right? These guys were bullet sponges, okay? These guys did not want to die. So that made me just run away a lot of the time because, one, that's a lot of bullets. Two, this guy doesn't want to die. Three, they don't even drop anything, so I didn't fight them. But in Stalker fashion, you die very quick, as you would in real life when you get shot. And if you don't die, chances are you're bleeding, which happens every time you get shot pretty much, as I guess it would in real life. You know, it can be a bit annoying sometimes, you know, peeking, gotta bandage up my arm real quick. But it is just a way to immerse you into this world, I think. Everything to do with the combat helps on top of the immersive world to try and make it as immersive and real as possible. You know, little details that came from the old game still remain, such as your gum jamming, which again will get you killed. Inventory management is still the exact same. You gotta debate whether, oh, I have a really cool gun, I have a really expensive thing as well that I could sell. Cool gun expensive, oh, I'm gonna drop something. There is stealth. This is one of my major nitpicks for the game. The stealth can be very indecisive and dodgy. You can either walk up to someone with your flashlight glaring on them and they won't see you because you're crouched, and you'll be able to take them down with no problem. Or someone can see you through a wall and gun you down. It needs a bit of tweaking to be fully functional. It's still applicable, you can still, you know, use it. It's just up to the game if you're gonna get caught or not. Forget about stealth. Killing people in this game is so crunchy, juicy. The animations sell it so well. Now, I don't want to know how they got these animations so good, but they are. The enemies can even like dodge and weave your bullets and shit. It's why are you doing that? How can bro do that? I think it all helps and bundles up in a nice jolly bit of guns. Headshots are still mostly one shot, and body shots usually do not kill in one shot. The combat always carries a certain amount of risk. You don't always want to run around running into a room gung-ho because you will perish. Down to it, the combat is very gritty and realistic, making you feel like you're controlling a dude with a gun rather than a super soldier who can slide cancel. Nicely done and engineered to make you feel like the Stalker. You've got plenty of enemy types. Flaws. No Stalker game has ever been flawless. They are quite literally games that if they weren't carried by their immersion and their beautiful world building, they would be incredibly mid-game. Performance, yeah, sure, but it will get fixed in the future. The story, it's whatever, I don't care about it. But when it comes to some of the missions, it became a slog to do it all this way just to go there, talk to a dude, and he'll be like, oh, go the other way. And I'll be like, oh. There's a lot of backtracking as well. When you get to endgame, a lot of the things just become insanely either do a lot of damage or take a lot of damage. Mutants decide they don't want to die. With the backtracking, it just felt like it became a bit bloated. I feel like it could have cut it down a bit. There was a lot of stuff I was doing. I was just like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I'm just doing it because I want to continue. Does this take much off my experience? Not really, no. They're just more nitpicks. So in conclusion, Stalker 2 has a fantastic world, you know, very immersive, realistic, grungy, just like all the other games. It's what you expect when you go into a Stalker game, and would I say that this Stalker 2 is a good addition to the beloved, forgotten about franchise of Stalker? Absolutely, yes. Would I recommend the game? Yes. With the Stalker games being so heavily focused on immersion and making you feel like the character you're playing as in this world, Stalker 2 does that very well. So Stalker 2 is a fantastic game, you know, all these in-depth details, but is it perfect? Absolutely not. I think there's a bit of room for improvement, but either way, it's still worth playing. My experience with the game was still Cheeki Breeki out of Stalker Played, so pretty damn good. A great addition to the long-awaited sequel of the sequel of the sequel of the prequel. For the final rating, in my opinion, that does not matter in the great scheme of things. I would give Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl a very, very strong 8 out of 10. So yeah, if you made it this far, comment Cheeki Breeki so I know who the real ones is. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot, mate, for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one, mate. See you later.